While the federal government is going to extraordinary lengths to protect its budget surplus, one saving still seems untouchable. Negative gearing is estimated to cost the federal coffers up to $5 billion a year. Many economists argue it distorts the tax system for little discernible benefit. But abolition is a teeny bit problematic, with the very real risk of a voter backlash. Neil Woolridge reports.
House prices and auction clearance rates might be picking up, if only slightly, but the housing market is still in the doldrums.
We've already seen a bit of a clean out in the market. Some well-known brands are now no longer around, and I think that'll continue.
And given that confidence is already brittle, Melbourne-based property developer Craig Delaney can't understand why some are pushing to remove negative gearing.
When residential construction is down, the industry relies on investment property construction to prop it up.
Negative gearing allows taxpayers to offset losses from an investment such as property or shares against other income like their wages. Over the years, there have been many calls to scrap negative gearing, and now it's also being seen as a saving that would help Wayne Swan protect his promised budget surplus.
It would reduce the loss of revenue arising from negative gearing that, according to my own estimates, runs at in excess of $5 billion per annum. And since negative gearing is overwhelmingly availed of by high-income taxpayers, it will also improve the equity of the tax system as well.
Property developers argue that negative gearing helps attract investment in new homes. However, the Reserve Bank statistics show that over 90% of property investors buy existing houses rather than building a new home.
So, to a much greater extent than owner-occupiers, demand from geared investors pushes up the price of established housing rather than leading to the creation of new housing.
But the Housing Industry Association's chief economist, Harley Dale, argues that high charges on new home building is the main factor driving investors away.
The low levels of investment in new residential property reflect structural obstacles to new housing supply that reflect the fact that of all the sectors in the Australian economy, the new home building sector is the second most heavily taxed.
Some in the property industry have also argued there would be a spike in rents if negative gearing was removed. The Hawke government abolished negative gearing in 1985, but reinstated it before the 1987 election, fearing a voter backlash. During that period, rents rose in Sydney and Perth, were steady in Melbourne and Adelaide, and fell in Brisbane.
In truth, the reason why rents rose so much in Sydney and Perth at that time was because the rental vacancy rates in those two cities was below 2% on those occasions.
But Harley Dale argues you can't compare 2012 with the 1980s.
We have extremely tight rental markets around the country that have been tight for a very long time. We have a new home building sector that's in recession for the second time in 4 years.
While Saul Eslake says negative gearing could be phased out over a number of years to minimise inequity and market distortions, political reality is another matter. With the business community still bristling over Wayne Swan's changes to company tax, it might be some time before any treasurer takes on the 1.7 million taxpayers who rely on negative gearing deduction.